Welcome back, and we're taking you straight to Paris now because France is braced for its annual May Day protest today. Businesses along the route in Paris have been ordered to close up and board up their shop fronts over concerns that the march might turn violent. Thousands of police officers will also be deployed to secure the event a bit later this morning. Let's go straight over to the centre of Paris. Stéphane de Vries is there for us this morning. Stéphane, it looks from what I can see behind you that although the police presence is there, it's still quite quiet at the moment. What are we expecting?
Yeah, it is still very quiet. The march starts around 2 p.m. local time. And indeed, this is a police station very close to where the march is supposed to end at the Place d'Italie this afternoon. It's heavily barricaded. Usually there's no protection in front of this police station. But it shows that the government is, preparing for the worst. Of course, the 1st of May traditionally is always a day of clashes between the unions and the police forces. But this year, of course, it has another dimension. It's also a day where the Yellow Vest will protest, and not only the Yellow Vest, but also the so-called Black Blocs, which is a mix of anti-capitalists, ultra-leftists and anarchists, also hooligans, coming from all over Europe to Paris today to turn the French capital into, as they call it themselves on social media, the capital of riots, or into hell. So there are 7,000 police officers deployed today in Paris to contain the violence. Most of the unions, a lot of unions have decided not to participate because they fear the violence, but it is clear that the 1st of May today in Paris will be probably end in a very, very violent way, just probably behind me at the Place d'Italie in the south of the city.
Stéphane, thank you very much. Stéphane de Vries there. Well, Paris is not the only European city seeing protests today. It's the May Day public holiday across Europe, traditionally viewed as a day when workers look to exert their employment rights. In a moment, we will be hearing in Berlin from Jessica Saltz. Before that, though, let's cross over to Faidal Kerry, who's in Athens, and I can see people starting to gather behind you, Faye. The protests that are due to take place in Athens, and there are several of them, are they likely to be good-natured or not?
Yes, we're now in Syntagma Square, just in front of the Greek Parliament, as you can see. And as you said, people have already started to gather for the demo of the Communist Party. We have 3 separate demos today in Athens, and as I walk to the usual finishing points of the demos here in Athens, let me say why this 1st of May is so important this year, for 2 reasons. First of all, because this is the first one after the bailout era, so we might hear people asking back some of the things they lost during the years of the memorandums. And second of all, because this is an election year, we have 3 elections ahead of us, the European elections, of course, the local elections, but as well the national elections until, at some point, until October. So we arrived now, as you can see here, we're going to see police buses lined up to stop the protesters from reaching the main entrance of the Greek Parliament. The Greek Parliament is right there, and to stop them from reaching the street where the Prime Minister's office is. And as you can see, we already have heavy police presence here. They're just prepared for anything. Heavy police presence as well. We will see in Berlin, where my colleague Jessica Saltz is, and she will show us around.
Here in Berlin, these left-wing and far-left protests are due to start later in the day, and you can see this graffiti behind me, which is all over this central Berlin area of Friedrichshain, is advertising the 1st of May protest. It says, against the city of the rich. And that is really the message of these left-wing protests that are going to start today. And the main focus of these protests is the housing crisis in Berlin, with protesters very angry about the fact that there is a severe lack of social housing across the capital at a time when rent and property prices are skyrocketing. And that is really keenly felt in this district of Friedrichshain. This is a former East Berlin district, which was until recently very, very cheap to live in, but has recently come under the effects of rapid gentrification and also has been attractive by luxury property developers. So police are expecting the protests today to become violent. There has been attacks by far left-wing groups on property developers' sites and offices and cars in the weeks leading up to these protests. Police have actually drafted in support from police officers from other parts of the country for this protest here in Berlin today. This is not only the only protest that's going to be happening in Berlin today. There will be other anti-capitalist protests happening in other parts of the city, as well as a small protest by the far-right AfD party, and there will be a large trade union group protest through the centre of the city in the afternoon. But this is, of course, Berlin, so of course there will be many political messages today, but there will also, on the 1st of May, be a lot of partying.
Jessica, thank you very much. Jessica Saltz there in Berlin and Fatal Kerry in Athens. Two cities protesting on this May Day for different reasons.